pupils, parents, and guardians. Let me start by thanking you for being a part of all our remote learning platforms, particularly our television program, The Classroom in Your Home. Each feedback has been awesome. Good job, you. Our teachers have been working assiduously to bridge the learning loss during this critical period. Therefore, I am pleased to inform you that the Classroom in Your Home has been extended to accommodate the lower primary classes and a dedicated lesson to cater for our special needs pupils in line with our mandate of providing an all-inclusive and quality basic education in our dear state.
Hello pupils, you're welcome to another wonderful edition of your favorite program, The Classroom in Your Home, a program organized by the Lagos State Government and packaged by the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, LASUBEB. The aim is to ensure that you're academically engaged in addition to what you're learning in school. I am Auntie Fumi, your English Studies teacher. As usual, I have with me in the house your wonderful teachers.
Hello children, I am your mathematics teacher, Uncle Agbaje, but you know me as the mathematician.
Uncle Popo is here, your general studies teacher.
And we also have our hard-working sign language interpreter in the house, Uncle Niyi. Together, we are bringing the classroom into your home. Please stay tuned. Welcome to Auntie Fumi's class. In our English Studies lesson today, we'll look at giving speeches at special occasions. When you have a special occasion and you must make a speech, let's learn how to give speeches at such occasions. But before we go into the learning objective for today's lesson, let's have the correction to our last lesson, our previous homework. Here are my sentences. I know you're going to have something different from what I have here, but it must give the same meaning. Up and coming. Tolu is an up and coming artist. Species. There are many species of nuts. Don't mention it. As for that gift I gave to you, don't mention it. As for that favor, don't mention it. And the last one, buttock. I fell on my buttock. Remember what we said a buttock is? That, yes, one part of your body that you sit on. That's the buttock. So, 4 out of 4, or very close to that. I trust you, children. You are awesome totally. You need to be celebrated with a cheer. Good job, you. Now to the learning objective for today's lesson. Don't forget today we are learning how to give speeches at special occasions. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to identify things to observe when giving speeches at special occasions. Not only that, you should also be able to give speech during a special occasion accurately. Are you eager to learn how to give a speech? Then let's begin today's lesson. A speech for a special occasion is performed to commemorate a person or an event. I'm talking about the need for us to make speeches at special occasions. Why? We do it to commemorate, to remember, to a person or an event. Examples of special occasions are award ceremony, graduation ceremony like the one you just had in your schools, wedding ceremony, commission of a project, and so on and so forth. Now, reasons people give speeches. Why must you give a speech at a special occasion? What is the reason behind it? Reasons people give speeches: to introduce a person, maybe because the celebrant, you want people to know more about the celebrant, you need to give a speech. Not only that, to toast or poke fun at a person. Maybe you want to just poke fun, you want to toast the celebrant, then there's need for a speech. And the third reason is to present an award. Like in your school, when you were presented the award as the best science pupil, the best pupil in English studies, the most punctual pupil in your school, they did not just come to your class to say, take, that's your award. There was a speech to introduce you, to talk about what you have done and the reason for that award. So the reasons for giving speeches: to introduce a person, to toast or to poke fun at a person, to present an award. Not only that, as a tribute to a person, place, or an event. As a tribute to a person, to a place, or an event. What are those things you must observe when giving a speech at a special occasion? What are those things? What are those tips you must have in mind before you give a speech at any special occasion? Different special occasions need different speeches. However, the following tips will guide you in writing a speech. You know, we have different occasions. Like we said before, housewarming, end of the year celebration, prize giving day, and so on and so forth. So you cannot stick to just one type of speech for all the events. That's why I said different special occasions need different speeches. So here are the tips that will guide you in writing a speech. The first one is greetings. Greetings. Every speech must start with a greeting. Number 2, give reasons for gathering. What are those reasons? Why are you here today? We are here today to celebrate Uncle Popo's birthday. There must be reason for a gathering. So, give reason or reasons for your gathering. After greeting, the next tip is that you should give a reason or you should give reasons for the gathering. Not only that, you keep your speech brief. Don't give a very lengthy speech. Keep it brief. For one thing, this type of speech works best when kept brief. Unlike other types of speeches, a special occasion speech should not go on any longer than 5 minutes. Otherwise, you may just lose the moment. People will get bored and say, she's been talking all day. We want to go to other aspects of the program. The speech is becoming boring. So you must keep your speech brief. Another thing is that you must always do your research. Always do your research. Before you even write a word, check to be sure that you use accurate names, titles, and other data in your speech. This means when setting out to write a speech, you must check the names, you must check the titles, the dates, and any other fact that you plan on using. Nothing is worse than giving a wrong information. Like we want to talk about Uncle Popo, and then you say, I am here to give a speech on Uncle Popo's birthday. Uncle Popo is fair in complexion. Uncle Popo is very fat. You are giving a wrong information about the celebrant. So make sure you carry out your research and make sure the names are correct, the title. Whoever is a Mr. should not be presented as a Mrs. Whoever is a chief must not be presented otherwise. Do your research. Are we together? Then you make a short introduction. Make a short introduction. Do not assume about what your audience already know. Do not make no assumption about what your audience already knows. What I mean is, you don't assume the audience already know who you are commemorating or who you are celebrating. Chances are they do. Chances are do know. But always include a short introduction. Good. Uncle Popo is my friend. Uncle Popo is our friend. But then we still need to do a little introduction. We should not assume that, oh, everybody knows Uncle Popo. Uncle Popo is very, very popular. So make sure you make a short introduction. There may be some people that do not know him, and that is the opportunity for you to let them know who the celebrant is. So make a short introduction. Are we together? Good job, you. Let's put that into action. Suppose you were asked to give a speech at your friend's graduation ceremony. You start by saying, I know we are familiar with Tunde, our dear friend, but let me introduce him to you again, just the way I did to Uncle Popo. Just say, I know we are familiar with Tunde, our dear friend, but let me introduce him to you again. Now, let's look at a sample speech. A sample speech. Please listen while I read, and you will be able to see that all those tips that I gave to you are embedded in the speech. Here is a speech delivered by the head boy of Maryland Primary School, Koshofe LGA, Lagos State, at the graduation ceremony of Primary 6 pupils, 2020-2021 academic session. Now, listen to the speech. The head teacher and assistant head teachers, our 21st century teachers, the non-teaching staff, parents, invited guests, 2020-2021 primary 6 set, and other pupils of the school, ladies and gentlemen. What have I just done? The greetings. Yes. Now we continue. It is with utmost joy as the head boy of the school to deliver a speech at the graduation ceremony taking place today. It is no doubt that today marks a new beginning in our lives after passing through reformation, transformation, and a thorough teaching that has remolded us towards a future task. We cannot but attest to the fact that our years of training at the school has given us direction and path to follow in choosing and pursuing our future professions. In fact, the giant in us has been unleashed. Being ambassadors of this great citadel of learning, we are promising to keep the good work going with good conduct and characters in our various secondary schools. On this note, on behalf of my fellow pupils, we thank teachers, school management, and of course our parents for all the support we have benefited to this level. May the Almighty God be with you all. Thank you for your time. You said, wow? Yeah. That is a sample speech given at the prize giving ceremony or end of the year ceremony of the primary 6 pupils of Maryland Primary School, Koshofe. So it's activity time. Are you ready? Yeah. Let's see how attentive you have been in the course of the lesson. Identify 3 important tips you must observe when giving your friend's birthday. Just identify 3 important tips you must observe when giving a speech during your friend's birthday. How many seconds should I give you for that? 30 seconds should be enough. Yes. And your time starts now. Eyes on me. Now, let's see what you have. I gave you 6 tips, but I said you should identify just 3. Greetings. Do you have that? Okay. After that, make a short introduction. Do you have that too? Brilliant children. Use positive tones. Do you have that? Oh, you have. Always do your research. Keep your speech brief. What other one do you have? Oh, you should keep your speech brief. Yes, we said that. And then you must be optimistic in your choice of language. Do you have that one too? Then you are awesome, totally. I need to celebrate you with another chair. Well done. Now to your assignment. Having given the tips, write a speech to be delivered at your friend's birthday. Write a speech you wish to deliver at your friend's birthday. Write the speech, submit it to the dedicated line through WhatsApp. Yes, WhatsApp will be appropriate this time around. So, that is your assignment. I believe you have copied it. Just write a speech to be delivered at your friend's birthday. I know you will love to write that. And that's it for today. We have come to the end of the English Studies lesson today. Today we learned how to write speech or speeches at special occasions. I enjoyed teaching, and I know you enjoy learning how to write speeches too. Well done, children. On this note, I want to hand you over to the mathematician, Uncle Agbaje, for another beautifully packaged mathematics lesson. Before I leave, don't forget, Auntie Fumi is always proud of you. Well done. Bye.
Hello children, you're welcome to this segment of the program, The Classroom in Your Home. It is mathematics time, and that means it is time to have some fun. I am Uncle Agbaje. Today in mathematics, we will go on to something entirely new, but it's going to be a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about length in triangles. I'm sure you're familiar with triangles, and we have also taught about length and unit of measuring length. But before we go into today's lesson, as usual, we'll begin with correction to our previous homework. In our last lesson, you were asked to find the square root of 441 and 784. This says we should find the square root of 784, so we will do it the same way. Now 2 can divide 784 because it ends with 4. So dividing with 2, we get 392. We can still divide with 2. Dividing 392 with 2, we get 196. 6 is at the end, that means we can still divide with 2. Dividing with 2, we get 98. We can still divide with 2, we get 49. Now we can no longer divide with 2. We cannot divide with 5, which is 3, which is the next prime number. We cannot divide with 5. But we can divide with 7. And so 7 goes on 49 7 times, and 7 divides 7 1 time. Now we are at the end of that. All we need to do is to pick 1, leave 1, pick 1, leave 1, and pick 1. And then we will have gotten our final answer, the square root of 784. So we're picking 1, 2, leave the second 2. Another 2, leave the second 2. Then 1, 7. So the square root of 784 will be 2 times 2 times 7. That is 2 times 2 times 7. And that will give us 48, because 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. And so the square root of 784, my friend, is 28, which means that if we multiply 28 by 28, we'll get 784. Now, I'm sure that is what you got too, my friend, and so I will celebrate you with a chair. Now, moving on to that work for today. What are our learning objectives? By the end of today, you should be able to appreciate the Pythagorean principle. That's a very big word. Well, there is nothing to be scared of, my friends. You know, mathematics has a lot of big words with simple meanings. Okay, so you should also be able to find the missing sides of right-angled triangles. What are all these about? Well, as usual, we'll proceed from what is simple to what is even simpler. Let's begin. We will begin today with a little quantitative reasoning test. It's a simple one, there is nothing to be scared about. I want you to ponder over this in 30 seconds and tell me what will be in this box where I have the question mark. 30 seconds to ponder over this. Begin. Alrighty then, 30 seconds over. I'm sure you found it easy. It's just a simple addition problem. 9 plus 16 is 25. 36 plus 64 is 100. 81 plus 144 will be 225. And now 25 plus 144 will obviously give us 169. Simple. I mean, if all quantitative reasoning problems were like this, the world will be such an easy place to live in. So 169 is the missing number. But one thing you will observe is that all these numbers are square numbers. 9 is a square number, 16 is a square number, 25 is a square number, 36, 64. And so that means we are adding two square numbers to give another square number. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. Adding square numbers to give another square number. Isn't it going to be easy? Of course it's going to be easy. Now, in the early ages, early mathematicians discovered that if we're able to bring two square numbers together and add them together, and they give a third square number, then there is a way you can arrange the roots of these square numbers to give a right-angled triangle. I'll take that again. You take two square numbers, add them, and they give you another square number. Now, these three square numbers, you can rearrange them, and the sides will form a right-angled triangle. And one of the first people that discovered this was a man called Pythagoras. That's his name, Pythagoras of Samos. He was a Greek philosopher and mathematician. You know, he was just playing around with squares, and he discovered that you could arrange them to form right-angled triangles that fitted each other perfectly. So today we'll be doing what Pythagoras did many years ago. Now remember that for square numbers, the roots of these numbers are the lengths of the side. You know, this side, it could be this side, it could be this side or this side. Because the square essentially is when you multiply the length by the breadth, the same number, you get the square. So the root is any side. Keep that in mind as we move along. Now, here are three square numbers. The first one is 9. The second one is 6, and the third one is 25. Now, if you had 9 and 16, rather, second one is 16. If you had 9 and 16, you will get the third one, which is 25. I have highlighted their roots in yellow color. Okay, the root of 9 is 3, the root of 16 is 4, the root of 25 is 5. So what we are going to do now is that we're going to rearrange these squares to see if we can form a right-angled triangle, much like Pythagoras did many years ago. Okay, so you see, we are able to get exactly a right-angled triangle in the middle. And you see that the length of the sides of the right-angled triangle are the roots of the squares. So for this right-angled triangle, for the vertical side, it is the root of this square 16. For this hypotenuse is the root of the square 25. And of course, the horizontal side, the root is this root of the 9, the square number 9. So as you can see, this is a right angle triangle, and the sum of these two smaller squares is the bigger one. So when you have three numbers that are squares and two squares add up to a third square, then you can rearrange them to form a right angled triangle. But the biggest square there will form the longest side of the right angle triangle. Look at this. This says, what is the size of the green box? This green box, we don't know. It's a square number, but we don't know the size. But of course, it's easy to get the size with what we have been doing so far. The first box plus the second box, square numbers, will give you the third box. And so it's just a simple case of adding 225 and 64. As you can see, 225 plus 64, the smaller boxes, will give you the bigger box, and that will give you 289. That means the size of the biggest box there will be 289. There is no big deal about it. Just add the two smaller boxes and you get the bigger box. Two squares give you the bigger square. Okay, so the size is 289, as you can see. Now this says, what is the length of the side marked A? The length of the side marked A is going to be 15. But why is that? Because A is just the root of the square. Remember that the root of the square is the length of any side. So A is the length of the square, 225, and the square root of 225 is 15. You can calculate that. You have been taught how to calculate, but I will not waste too much time with that because of time. So the length of A is 15. That is the root of this blue square. Now similarly, the root of this one, the length B, will be the root of the square 64, and the square root of 64 will be 8, and so the length B will be 8. In a similar manner, this says, what is the length of the side marked C? This side, and this side is the root of this square, which is 289. So the length of this side will be the root of 289. And when we find the square root of 289, the square root of 289 is 17. You'll get enough time to practice and calculate your own square roots, but for now, let's just get the idea. So the square root, the length of this side will be the square root of the square, and that is 17 in this case. This says, what is the length of the side marked K in this triangle? So again, we have to find this square here, and the square here, and the square here. And to do that, let's just draw the squares. Okay, now that we know, we need to find 34 squared, and we need to find 30 squared. And then, we don't know what the square K is, okay, but we know that if we had the two smaller squares, we'll get the bigger square, which means that if we know the bigger square and we remove this small square, we'll get the smaller square. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I'll take that again. We can find this big square by finding the square of 34, multiply that by itself. Finding the square of 30, multiply that by itself. Now we need to know the smaller square. But if we know the biggest square and we know one small square, we can remove one small square from the biggest square to get the other small square. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So the square of 34 is 1,156. Let's quickly work that out. Okay, 34, multiplying 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, 3 times 3 is 9, so I write 09, 3 times 4 is 12. Adding along the diagonals, I get 6, 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 1 is 11, so I write 1 and regroup 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, so I get 1156. Okay. Now the square of 30 is 300. That one is pretty straightforward. I mean 30 times 30, just multiply 3 times 3, you get 9. Then you put the 2 zeros there, 1, 2. Okay. Then 1,156, the big square, remove one small square to get the smaller square. We will get 256 when we subtract that. And so in that small square you have 256. but we need to find only the length k, and that will be the root of this 256. So let's quickly find the root of 256. Okay, so 256 divide by 2. 2 goes into 1. Do I need to stop? I have to start again. I'm ready. So to find the square root of 256, okay, sorry. To find the square root of 256, quickly draw a table. Now divide by 2. 2 goes here, 1 here, 2, regroup 1. And in 16 I get 8. 2 goes in 12, 6. Here, 4. 2 goes here, 3, 2. 2 goes here, 1, carry, regroup 1. You get 6. 2 goes in 16, 8. 2 goes in 8, 4. 2 goes in 4, 2. 2 goes into 1. Now, to find that square root, I pick 1, leave 1, pick 1, leave 1, pick 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So the square root of 256 now will be 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So the square root of 256 is 16. So now back to our previous page. And so the square root of 256 is 16. And that means that k, the root of 256, because the smallest square is 256, the root is 16. Okay, so, and that is that. K is 16. Now, here is one for you to try your hands on. You are to find the side x. Don't forget that you have to find the square of this, the square of this, and then the square of this. But I'm going to help you by giving you a heads up. I'm going to help you with the square of some of these numbers so that you work quickly. Let me pick a pen. So the square of this will be 625. And the square of this will be 576. That should give you a head start, so you don't have to calculate the squares. So I'm going to give you just 1 minute, 30 seconds. Begin. Alrighty then, I believe that you are done, my friend. So let's see how it is done. So first we'll find the square of these numbers. And the square of 25 is 625. I did give you that one. The square of 24 is 576. I did give you that one. Now, if you are looking for the smallest square and you have a smaller square and the biggest square, all you have to do is remove this one small square from one big square, and the leftover will be the smallest square. So we have to subtract 625 from 576, and you will get 49. And so x here will be the small box x, the small square number x is 49. And all you needed to have found was the root of that, which is the length x. And the square root of 49, of course, with that one does not need calculation. Square root of 49 is 7. And so x is 7. Well, did you get it correctly? Excellent. But if you did not, you can be sure that Uncle Agbaje will give you some to practice with as assignment, which of course is coming up right about now. Here is a right angle triangle. You have to find the length of the side K. Remember, all you have to do is find the squares of the side, and that will give you the square that you need. Then you can find the root thereafter. Capture this in 20 seconds and I'll be back. Alrighty then, I believe that you are done as we have come to the end of today's mathematics lesson. I hope that you enjoyed it. Now it's time for me to hand you over to Uncle Popola for that general studies lesson. Till I come your way in the next class, do remain wonderful mathematicians. Bye bye now.
Hello, puppies. You are welcome to General Studies class. I am Uncle Popo. Uncle Popo is here.
I am also here.
Good. We are here together.
100% attention.
Excellent. 100% attention is what I want you to give me in today's lesson. Our subject for today is social studies. In our last lesson, we talked about overutilization of natural resources and underutilization of natural resources. We talked about the problem associated with overutilization of natural resources and underutilization. Today, we want to look at another very simple and interesting topic. But let me quickly ask you this. This morning when you were going to school, I know some of you went to school by bus. If you went to school by bus this morning, let me see your hand. Good. And some went by car. How many of you? Excellent. Some motorbike, some tread, because your school is very close by. So those of you too, let me see your hands. Good. But I want to let you know that those that went by car, those by motorbike, those that trekked, all of you had actually moved from one place to another. In actual sense, what we want to talk about today has to do with transportation. And what do we mean when we say transportation? All this we shall be discussing in today's lesson. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to, 1, define transportation and land transportation. 2, list types of land transportation and state problems of land transportation and discuss how to solve the problems. Transportation. When we say transportation, what does it mean? Just like how I asked you, you were moved from your house to your schools this morning, that has to do with transportation. Transportation is the movement of people and goods from one place to another. Movement of people, goods, or animals from one place to another. That is transportation. Then when we talk about transportation, we have various means through which one can be moved from one place to another, or various means through which one can be conveyed from one place to another. You know, when I started, some went to school this morning by bus, by car. All these are various means of transportation. We also have by air, like you are seeing on the picture here. You can see this is aeroplane. That's another means of transportation. We have a bus here. We have train. We have various means. So that's not where we are going. we want to focus on land transportation. What did I say? Land transportation. So now let's look at what land transportation is. Land transportation is the movement of people, goods, and animals from one place to another on the land. Movement of people, goods, animals from one place to another on the land. That is land transportation. Actually, when you went to school this morning, you went through land transportation, maybe through motorbike, through car, through bicycle, or you trekked. All these are land transportation. And we have various means, like I have said. You can say this is bus, this is different means of land transportation. Let's look at the various types and discuss the various types. Now, talking about land transportation, it's been divided into two. We want to talk about road transport and rail transport. When we talk about road transport, what are we talking about? Road transport, we are actually talking about, one, let's take it bit by bit, human-powered transport. Human-powered transport. What do we mean by that? When you trek, that as the human is making that effort, you are moving from one place to another, trekking. That is human power effort. That is, for example, we can say walking. That's one means of transportation. Running. So far, when you run, you move from the place you are to another place. That's transportation. Cycling. That's another road transport you are talking about. What about skateboarding? That's another one. All these are human-powered transport. We also have animal-powered transport. What do I mean when I say animal-powered transport? We have different animals that are using for transportation. In the olden days, we have our forefathers use animals like donkeys, camels to take their goods from the farm to their houses. So that is animal-powered transport. We have them. You can see, look at this picture. I know some of you will have seen this before, and some are seeing it for the first time. All these are animals that are using for transportation. You can see, I know some of you will have seen this type in the movie. So this is also another example. Still talking about the road transport, I've talked about human power transport and animal power transport. Now let's look at motor vehicles. All these two work on the land. When we talk about motor vehicles, we are referring to cars. So that is one. Buses, we have the BRT, we have the commercial buses there. So all these two is working on the land transport. So we have truck, we have a motorbike, and tricycle. All these are on road transport. I've talked about human-powered, animal-powered motor vehicles and different ones. Those are on road transport. The second part of it is rail transport. When we talk about rail transport, we are referring to this. I know this is a train. Where the train works, the part the train moves is the rail. Because ordinarily you can't see train working where the motor vehicles or buses are working. We have the special part at which the trains move, and that is the rail. Do you understand? Let me even ask, how many of you have had the opportunity to board train, maybe to travel to anywhere before? Wow, only few people. This is a train. This is what we are talking about when talking about the rail transport. So this is train. Now let's talk about problems of land transportation. What are the problems of land transportation? One, poor condition of vehicles. That's one of the problems. We have some vehicles that are not roadworthy, because when those vehicles are moving, they cause pollution, and at times they cause accidents on the road because the vehicles are not roadworthy. And through accident, many lives could be lost. So poor condition of vehicles, reckless driving. Reckless driving is another problem of road transportation, because we have some drivers that are not very careful when they are driving. We even have some that will have taken alcoholic drink before driving, before or while driving, and as a result of that, it caused, and as a result of that, this pose a problem to the society. Reckless driving. Next one is poor road infrastructure or poor state of the roads. That's another problem. Some roads are not good for motors to ply, and because of that, it's a problem. The journey that could take you just like 5 or 10 minutes could last you for 1 hour or 2 hours because of the poor state of the roads. Now, next one is uneducated drivers. Some drivers are illiterate. They find it difficult to read and interpret road signs. We have road signs leading or guiding or directing the path of some drivers, but the illiterate driver could not interpret some road signs, and is a problem. Another one is road congestion due to rapid urbanization and overpopulation, especially in cities. That is why in some cities this is a problem, because we have traffic that will try to greet you anywhere you are going. Where you're supposed to spend like 10 minutes, you can spend like 1 hour because of road congestion. And what is the reason? What is the cause for that? It's just because we have more people dwelling in that city. We have a lot of people dwelling, and all the people want to move at the same time on the same road. That's a road congestion due to rapid urbanization and overpopulation. Poor state or inadequacy of other means of transport, especially rail transport. We have other means of transport, like we have discussed it today. Trains, as we don't have it much that people can just take to that and use that means of transportation to wherever they are going. If we have much of those trains, I think it will help the road to transport to move freely, and it will ease traffic congestion in that area. So poor state or inadequacy of other means of transport, especially rail transport, that's a problem. And lastly, we have environmental pollution. Like I told you, we have some vehicles that are not roadworthy, and those vehicles pose or cause environmental pollution in the society. So this is a problem. Now let's look at how to solve problems of land transportation. How do we solve all these problems, or some of these problems we have listed? 1, drivers should be educated more on the dangers of drinking alcohol before or while driving. Likewise, reckless driving. That's one of the solutions. Drivers should be educated on the dangers involved in drinking alcohol before or while driving. So that's 1. 2, government needs to make rehabilitation of road transport system a priority, and should properly fund and monitor the rehabilitation. Well, everything we are saying, government this, government that, government is trying, but we still need to say this out, that they still need more effort in trying to make rehabilitation of road transport system a priority, and should properly fund and monitor the rehabilitation. Now it's time to test you and see if you are giving me your 100% attention in today's lesson. Questions. Number 1, define transportation. Question number 2, state 2 problems of land transportation. And question number 3, mention 3 examples of road transport. You have just 40 seconds to attempt this. Your time starts now. Eyes on me. Uncle Popo is there. I believe you are still there. So let's mark together. Transportation. Transportation is the movement of people and goods from one place to another. I think that one is very simple. Two problems of land transportation. One, poor condition of vehicles, reckless driving, poor road infrastructure or poor state of the roads, and any of the problems we discussed in today's lesson. Mention 3 examples of road transport. It could be cars, it could be trucks, bicycle, tricycle, running, cycling. All these are a very good example of road transport. So we have come to the end of today's lesson. Until next time, next lesson, Uncle Popo says, keep on studying. Bye.
Please encourage your wards to tune in and take every advantage of this laudable program. Also remember, this pandemic is not over. Let us continue to abide by all health and safety guidelines as stipulated by the government. At LASUBEB, we are determined to leave no child behind in our quest to improve the standard of basic education in our state. Thank you.
My wonderful pupils, we've come to the end of another exciting episode on the Classroom in Your Home.
An exciting one indeed it has been for us, learning with you, and we hope that you have enjoyed yourselves learning with us. Now, remember that practice sessions for our online classes are available through the link bit.ly/LASUBEB tests. The link again is bit.ly/LASUBEB tests. There you will find a plethora of tests to practice with and recondition yourself with what we have taught you from the beginning of this program till date.
Don't forget, taking the online assessment is based on if you have access to either your daddy's, your mommy's, your uncle's, or your auntie's Android or smartphones. If not, there is no problem. Just send your questions, your comments, and your assignment to 081-50-86-5663. Please, do not call that line. SMS and WhatsApp messages only. And when you're sending in your assignment, make sure you indicate your name,
Your school,
Your class.
and your local government education authority. That is the only way we'll be able to identify you and appraise you accordingly.
You've heard it all from Auntie Fumi and Uncle Agbaje, but just to remind you that all the lessons taught today and the previous ones are on Lagos UBEB YouTube channel for you to watch over and over again at your own preferred time. Subscribe to Lagos UBEB YouTube channel to get notification when new videos are uploaded. The Classroom in Your Home could be watched live on Facebook, the same time airing on television through the page showing on the screen.
Until the next lesson when we shall meet again for another beautifully packaged edition of The Classroom in Your Home. Don't forget, do your assignment and submit on time.
Wash your hands regularly.
study hard, but above all,
Stay safe. LASUBEB,
leave
no child behind.